My name is Sara Wilkie, and my passion is learning. In my childhood, I was gifted with two parents who were passionate, avid learners. And then as I became a teacher myself, I was gifted with the opportunity to teach in the same district for almost 18 years and learn alongside my students. After that opportunity, I was invited to work and learn with teachers and administrators and students in schools all over the world. And from these experiences, I've gleaned some insight into some learning processes that seem to be pretty consistent across the board, whether it's a public school setting, a private school setting, a large community, a small community, urban or rural. There are some things that we can put into place that seem to be hugely supportive in terms of not only learning, but sharing our learning. I thought it would be best to start with some insights gleaned from this gentleman who I got when I was 9 years old. This gentleman is my stepdad, and through my time with him, I learned three pretty significant lessons about learning. The first was, we need to fail to learn. Shortly after he married my mom, we would sit at the dinner table each day after school, and his question would be, what did you mess up today? And my answer typically was, nothing. It was great. I did everything well. And he would look at me and smile and nod his head and say, that's okay, babe. Tomorrow's another day. You can try harder. His thinking was, if we aren't messing up, that simply means we aren't trying hard enough. If we're really challenging ourselves at our learning edge, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to mess up, we're going to fail. And that should be a part of learning. If we're not doing that, we're not learning really. The second lesson I learned when I was a little bit older, as he was the one who was brave enough to help me learn how to drive. And I remember getting on I-75, a major interstate in this side of the country, and him saying, okay babe, time to turn into the left lane. And my thinking was turn into the left lane, and his thinking was, whoa, 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 small shifts, big impact. Small shifts will make a great impact. And that's a pretty neat lesson to apply not only to driving, but to our learning and our efforts as well. Oftentimes when we take off or bite way more than we need to, it dilutes the learning. Small shifts, big impact. And the last takeaway that I had from him in terms of learning was that it's really important that we learn out loud. He was a metallurgical engineer for General Electric in his professional life. And it wasn't until he retired that I realized how busy and passionate he was in terms of giving back to the community and sharing out loud the learning that he did. This is a picture of him after he was really questioning and learning about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And he wanted to know everything he could find out about this challenge because it was so popular. But there were a lot of things he didn't understand about it. So in his process of learning, he questioned fearlessly, he challenged thoughtfully, he learned openly, and only when he figured out how pouring a bucket of water over your head might help raise awareness, raise funds, and help the research toward some treatment for ALS, did he then start contributing generously. How do we do this? I want in on the game. And at 97 years old, joined my 3 kids and a friend of ours in having the Ice Bucket Challenge. Phenomenal man, great lessons in lifelong learning. So these are the lessons that I've taken from him and applied to my own professional learning, as well as the professional learning of the teachers and the administrators and the school board members with whom I've had the opportunity to work, as well as the learning of my own students. In his book, Tony Wagner suggests that it isn't about no structure, but rather creating a different kind of a structure. And the lessons that I took from my little stepdad helped me develop a different kind of a structure that I've been sharing with the teachers and students with whom I've worked. And that different kind of structure has 5 different pieces. The first piece is the documentation and reflection. Where are our learners documenting and reflecting on their work? Not just the product, but the process. Where are they documenting their efforts, what they've achieved as a result of those efforts, and what their next steps might be? How are they documenting these in a way that allows them to go back at multiple points in the process and reflect on their decisions, their choices, their efforts, any wrong turns they've made, and mine those pieces for the value that's in them, especially those wrong turns or perceived failures? Where are we giving them opportunities to document those so they can mine the rubble for the gold that lies within there? The second step of that is questioning. This is a hot topic in many of the learning conversations around now about questioning. How are we developing our learners' capacity to ask stronger questions, deeper questions, questions that dig a little bit further underneath the surface? If we're documenting and reflecting on our work, it makes it a little bit easier to go back and ask some more significant, deeper, more pointed questions about what we're learning, how we're learning, what we need to do next. The third step in this different kind of a structure would be the feedback. Where and how are we providing our students opportunities to garner feedback, both from their peers who are sitting next to them in class, from maybe their more local peers in their classroom or their school, and from their global peers in their community, in their country, internationally? How are we helping students build those learning networks and leveraging them to garner feedback on their thinking, on their learning, on their questions? The next step would be in the self-monitoring and assessment. What tools and opportunities are we providing our students to self-assess, to self-monitor, and then from there, set some goals? This process or this different kind of a structure is not necessarily intended to be linear or sequential, but to move in and out and around this list throughout their learning journey. But definitely I think that this key starts with that documentation and reflection. Where are we providing those students spaces to document and reflect on their work and to show the process of their learning that would include the other 4 steps of this different kind of a structure? As we consider the question posed by Ellen November of who owns the learning and the strides we're making toward giving our students more ownership over their own learning, it begs a secondary question of what kind of guardrails and structures are we putting into place that will give us insight into what our students know, but especially what will give our students insight into what they know. And for me, that begs a significant challenge. How are we, as learning leaders, modeling our learning for others? How are we as administrators modeling our learning for our teachers? And how are we as teachers modeling our learning for our students? How are we learning out loud? What guardrails, what different kinds of structures are we putting into place that give our teachers and our students the autonomy they need to be effective, impactful, contributory, lifelong learners?